So anything with those thresholds, each department does handle. And what I always say is if you look around, your office or your building where you're in right now, basically anything that you're seeing is what we procure, ranging from computer equipment, computer services, furniture, office space build outs, including, telecom, audio and video, automobile. ISD here, we actually manage and procure the entire county's fleet and also the maintenance and repair for the fleet. And construction. We have construction products that are procured from ISD. And then also there's two different departments here, ISD and DPW, that handle actual construction solicitations and contracts. And then we have hospitals, all of the hospital equipment, maintenance and services. And also that includes, our registry services such as CNAs and nurses, and then also food services, as well as the last one that you're not able to see. So there are a lot of contracting opportunities with that $14 billion annual spend on services and commodities and the wide variety of commodities and services that we do procure. So a lot of contracting opportunities. And I know that you guys are some grantees that are in attendance today. That's actually a couple of the contracts that I have. I have a portfolio of over 900 different contracts totaling approximately 1.4 billion. And we actually have a lot of grant contracts. So if you guys are in the business of sourcing grants and writing grants, shoot me an email and let me know. I do have some contracting opportunities related to those efforts, especially for different specialty programs as well. So in regards to equity in county contracting initiatives, this has been a priority of the board to reduce the barriers on how we do business here at the county, and also to provide more and equal and fair contracting opportunities to our vendor community. And that includes all vendors. And this has been really various different initiatives and priorities of the board since I started my career here back in late 2017 with the county. But the Office of Equity and County Contracting in this particular initiative was directed and started and approved by the board back in 2021. And its purpose was really to look at our processes here within county contracting and reduce those barriers and make it easier to do business with us. Working with the county, as you guys all have experience doing so, it's a really intimidating and complex and lengthy and time-consuming process, right? And so that's the goal here, is to reduce those barriers and create, a more streamlined contracting process for you guys, but also for us here as well. So I'm happy to present out some of the, the small accomplishments we've been able to accomplish through the past couple of years here, working within the Equity and County Contracting Office. The first one, as I mentioned, we have our prompt 15-day prompt payment program. This was actually a policy of the board dating back from in the early 90s. However, the prompt payment was actually only applicable to one category of our PPEs, which was local small businesses. Through this work of the ECC office, I actually was successful in expanding that board policy and the prompt payment to the other PPE certification designations as well. So now we've got 15-day prompt payment across all PPEs. So that includes the local small businesses, the social enterprises, and the DBBEs. And we are monitoring that. And we do post that publicly, that processing time publicly, because the board wants transparency, especially on paying for our services rendered. And so right now we're at 6 days, as I mentioned. We also developed unbundling guidelines. So it is really important not to build these huge, gigantic solicitations and contracts where only large firms can historically win the solicitations and be awarded the contracts. So what we're doing is we've rolled out unbundling procedures countywide to take those larger contracts and divide them up into much smaller statements of work or geographical regions or locations, so that more small businesses can participate in these solicitations. And it has yielded great benefits. We've been able to recruit, new firms, smaller firms that have never done business with us before. And then cash advances. We know that financing and having access to capital and quickly, by the way, is really, really, really important to our vendor community and our partners, you who provide these critical services to the county. And so I was also the lead on developing a cash advance program to provide a high dollar amount and percentage of that contract funding upfront in advance upon award, so that our firms have the capital to be able to implement and start up the contract activities and do so quickly. So that was really, really, really a big push from the board. I had to work very closely with the CEO and audit controller on that, but we have been successful in rolling out a number of cash advance pilots under contracts. Also, targeted outreach. We have been working with the vendor community in certain geographical locations to really get their feedback on contracting processes. And that kind of ties into the last one here, part of the listening tour, to really hear what the struggles and challenges in doing business with the county are. We're taking those back and we're working with the Equity and County, my Equity and County Contracting Office, to build out process improvements. One of which was the streamlining of our solicitation and contracting vehicles that resulted in a 35%, almost 35% decrease in the solicitation package. And also less forms. We had 23 forms and now we're down to 9. So just a couple of quick, small wins, but they're kind of significant in the long run. DEO was responsible and successful in streamlining our certification process, again, for those, the PPE programs that I mentioned. And we've been rolling out a number of different trainings to departments and to vendors as well. So ISD talked a little bit about us already, but we are the county's purchasing agent here at ISD. That is my colleague, my peer, overseeing commodities. I mentioned already that I am the manager over the countywide service contracting office, but also the ECC office, and responsible for providing all contracting related training to departments and also vendor training as well. And that also includes vendor registration and vendor technical assistance. So these are some of the primary roles and responsibilities of my department. And in addition to that, we have the services that we provide. We provide these services internally and then also through contracting out. So we have our purchasing contract services. We have the county's energy and environmental services. We have facility management services, and that includes custodial, landscape, fleet, mail, record keeping, and then we have the last one here, and you're not seeing it, is the IT services. So all IT and telecom services are housed and contracted out here for at ISD. Okay, now I want to get into the good stuff. This is our Doing Business with Us website, and I'm going to give you guys the link to this at the last slide, but it is doingbusiness.lacounty.gov. And I just want to show you guys kind of how to navigate through this website and, where you can find the most important resources that are going to be helpful to you in doing business with us, whether you are trying to get awarded a contract or whether you have a contract already with us. These are some important areas that I want to call your attention to. So the first one is to register. Register to do business with us. I'm sure that you guys are all already registered, but I do want to show you guys how to manage your vendor account should you need to make any updates to that. So the green button here is the registration key. And once you're registered, and this is the reason why to register also, you will get automatic notifications on our solicitations. And the automatic notifications are sent to you through the commodity codes. So I always recommend to sign up and select as many commodity codes as are applicable to your firm, because that's how you're going to get those automatic notifications to solicitations. It's also how you can locate awards to contracts under solicitations, how you can get access to our events, such as this one. We posted this one and advertised this one for JCOD, and we host our own. DEO hosts them frequently as well too. And trainings. We also post our trainings on the website. You'll have direct access and notifications on those. And of course, it's the only way that you can get awarded and the only way that you can get paid as well. Registration is 5 steps. It is super quick and easy. This is the QR code. If you guys aren't registered, I think most of you guys are, so I'm kind of going to go through this a little bit quickly. But it is 5 steps and it takes about 15 minutes. Your vendor profile, address and contact information for your firm. You're going to enter in your tax document, and then step 4 is where you're going to select all of your commodities, and then you're going to create and save and finish. And you'll get your registration information. You'll be getting your vendor number once you register. If you guys don't have your vendor number, let me know, or you can contact this email here at the bottom blue, because you do need that vendor number to respond to solicitations, and also to sign up for direct deposit if you guys are not already signed up for. And you'll normally get that in about 1 to 5 days. Okay, VSS. If you guys are not familiar with VSS, this is the county's vendor self-service portal. And this is where you maintain all of your vendor profile information. In some cases, this is how you can also submit and track invoice payments. And this is so you'll have access to financial transactions. You'll have access to a certain select few county solicitations. But this is also where you maintain your vendor account and update addresses, update emails, update contact numbers, so on and so forth. So if you don't have access to this and you don't use VSS, definitely get this QR code, because this is how you maintain your vendor profile. And like I said, have access to some financial information as well. Purchase orders, scheduled payments, warrant information. So when you get your check number issued, you can track that on this website. Okay, this is a list of some of our resources here at the county. I already went over doing business with this website. I already went over the vendor registration. We do have very, very large, in fact, the largest in the nation, preference programs. And that includes our local small businesses, our disabled veteran-owned businesses, social enterprises. And then the one I didn't mention is our CBE program. Our CBE program is our community-based enterprise program, and that's our women-owned businesses, our LGBTQs, our disabled veteran-owned businesses. So those are different designations under the CBE program. If you are not certified, you can certify under both CBE and the PPEs. Through the Department of Economic Development, DEO, we also provide business coaching. We also provide technical assistance through them and counseling through the Apex Accelerator program. And they also have, it's really cool, a business concierge program that works with your firms one-on-one. And this is all free of charge. So business coaching is through the Department of Economic Development. And direct deposit. It is one of our priorities, and it's actually a policy that direct deposit is our method of payment. And the reason for that is because we want to get you guys paid and paid quickly. If you're not signed up for direct deposit, this is the link for it. And again, it's like vendor registration, very quick and easy. It's only 5 steps, takes less than 5 minutes. Get in the game. We are supporting a lot of different events coming up in the near future. Obviously, the Olympics being the biggest. And so we have a lot of different supplier resources that are also housed here at the county, and that will be facilitating in support with the city of LA. So that last one, get in the game, you can find some more information on those. Business license information and California sales tax permit information if you guys need access to that. And that QR code will take you to all of these different resources. Okay, back on the landing page for the Doing Business With Us website. This is what the landing page looks like. I mentioned the vendor self-service VSS portal already. So this portal right here, this orange button is where you can access that portal, and that'll take you to the link to maintain your and update your account if you need to. But what I really wanted to point out on this screen is up at the top. The top toolbar here are different resources that we've posted that are available to you. What I like to point out here is we've got the vendor commodity list. We've got common definitions. So this is acronyms and terminology and definitions. So I maintain this and I post this to help you guys with the solicitation contracting process, because obviously it's sometimes we use different terminology than in the business industry, right? So definitions I like to point out. And then the other one are the T's and C's right here. These are the standard terms and conditions for purchasing, for commodities, and also for service contracts. So these, I just like to point out so you can read them and become familiar with them, because they will be included in every PO or every service contract. That way you can become familiar with them when you're getting ready to participate in a solicitation or contract with us. Okay, the next one is on the resources tab. This one is what I like to point out is our vendor fairs and workshops. So anything that we're going to host here at the county, any department, JCOD, shout out to you guys too. If you guys have any workshops, like I advertise this one for you guys, anyone, you can send us the flyers, and you grantees on the call. This is where we'll post all of our information on fairs and workshops here. And then the other one I like to point out is tips. So this is tips on doing business with us right here. And then the FAQs. This is all, frequently asked questions. We update this on a pretty much regular basis. So that one I like to point out for you guys as well too. And then can't see it here, but contacts. We do have contacts for all of our buyers, our purchasing team, and then also all of our contract managers. All 38 different departments have their buyers listed on here and their contract managers. So our names and email addresses are out there for you guys if you have any questions. This tab right here will take you to the link to access our information. Okay, the solicitation that I mentioned to you guys. I want to go over this request for statement of qualifications overview, and I know Steven's going to be talking about his solicitation that he's using this similar approach for. This is one of my favorites. I really like it because it provides a lot of flexibility to us, but also to you. This is a solicitation that we use to establish a pool or like a bench of pre-qualified contractors for services that we use on a very, very, very frequent basis. And then what we do is we have very high level requirements that we establish in the RFSQ. And as long as you can meet those high level minimum requirements, then you're able to get awarded a master agreement and be added to that bench. Another reason why I like this approach is because it gives us flexibility to add service categories and also add a number of different master agreements and keep it open and continuous for you to apply at any time. So a lot of flexibility for us on services and a lot of flexibility for you to apply at any time and apply to one or more service categories. And then what you as firms will respond to is that solicitation is with a statement of qualification. Again, that is going to be addressing the minimum requirements, which is very short usually and very high level. And you'll be responding with a statement of qualifications submission to the county department. You're going to have your number of years of experience and other qualifications, like we may ask for licenses or certifications. And that's going to be the high level typical requirements you'll see in there. So it's a much more streamlined contracting process also than like a normal RFP. This normally takes 4 to 6 months, whereas an RFP can take 12 to 24 months. So you get awarded a master agreement a lot quicker. And then we here at the county internal services department, we typically, I would say like 90% of the time also, we open up our master agreement programs countywide. So when I say there's a lot of flexibility, other departments can utilize our master agreements, and that creates more contracting opportunities for you guys as well. So this is high level. This is the workflow within the solicitation process, cradle to grave. So what we do is we'll develop and release that request for statement of qualifications solicitations. We'll post it online. It'll have, different services or service categories identified in it. Then you'll submit that SOQ, giving us your total number of years of experience and any other licenses or certifications that we're going to require. We'll evaluate your SOQ, and then we'll notify you if you have met the minimum requirements or not. If you have met the minimum requirements, you'll be awarded a master agreement and be added to that pool, that bench to provide services. If your submission is not sufficient or missing something, this is another reason why I like this solicitation. Unlike an RFP or an IFB, we can go back to you. We can go back to you and say, hey, you're missing this form, or, we're not able to validate your number of years of experience. And you can resubmit your statement of qualification, or resubmit the form that's missing, or resubmit a reference so that we're able to qualify you. So we're able to work with you during this process, which is unlike another, like I said, an RFP. Then you're added to the service category once you're awarded a master agreement. And then we'll have a service need, right? We procure on an as-needed basis. We'll develop a statement of work or maybe service requirements, and then we'll solicit to just that bench, to just that pool under that particular service category. And then we do so normally based on low bid or evaluation factors. And then we award the work. And it'll be a work order or subordinate agreement of some type. So this is the workflow, again, much more streamlined and much more flexible than a normal RFP solicitation. Award process. So once we get to that subordinate solicitation, this is typically how we weight and score and develop the work order solicitation. It'll either be just on low bid, which is just cost, or we'll do it on multiple different evaluation components, such as cost, quality, responsiveness, your approach to providing the services, reference checks, or we could even request interviews and demonstrations as well. So that is the process on the RFSQ solicitation vehicle. And then this is how you locate all of our solicitations. It is a board policy that we, all 38 different departments, post our solicitations on the Doing Business With Us website. And this is how you can find them. So you're going to go here to this red button here, Open Solicitations. And you can search by a variety of different search techniques. You can either type in a keyword, you can search by department, you can search by solicitation number, or you can search by commodity. I always like to do keyword because it's quick and easy, and then it'll pull up all of the applicable solicitations with that. And so here we're doing keyword economic. And then to access the solicitation, you're just going to click on this blue link right here on the far left. Blue link is to access the solicitation. And once you click on that blue link, it's going to take you to this landing page. Here you have the department information on the top left. This is the department that is facilitating the solicitation. Here is the commodity type right here, consulting services for economics. Closing date. This is one that is open and continuous. If it was an RFP or an invitation for bid, there would be an actual date here. And this would be your bid or proposal due date. When you see continuous, this is good. This means that you can submit at any time throughout the term of the master agreement. This particular one doesn't have a cap on it. If it did, it would be right here. And then on the far right, this is the contact information. So we're always going to put the contact information here on the analyst or the buyer that is facilitating that solicitation. That's going to be your single and sole point of contact to contact. And then at the very bottom, this is the actual solicitation. Right here at the very bottom, these are the solicitation documents that you're going to access. We always try to PDF them when possible or make them PDF fillable for you as well. And we are very prescriptive in the solicitation. So we will go over the minimum requirements to be able to submit a bid or proposal or SOQ. And then we also go over the submittal process, the format, the dates, and then also the evaluation or selection criteria as well. So we're very, very prescriptive and very thorough in the process to make sure that you guys are reading the solicitation in its entirety. I'll send this out to the team here, but this is just a listing of all of our county-wide master agreement opportunities that are open and continuous that I have here within my management. So I've got elevator, escalator, I have equipment repair, transportation. So just to give you kind of like some context, like transportation services right here, you would think that, you know, we're in LA, there's lots of like limo and shuttle services all over the place and party buses all over the place. But I actually only have 2 contractors that are on this bench for transportation services. And this is countywide. So anytime, like I do shuttle services to Dodger Stadium. You know, I do shuttle services and bus services for the fire department, for lifeguards. So, you know, for DCFS, for libraries, and I only have 2 contractors. And the reason why I want to point that out is because you're competing against a much smaller pool of competition under the master agreement program than you would be on an open solicitation where we have 90,000 vendors registered. I have our disaster and emergency services. Again, this is county-wide services. Record management, you know, we're in a fire situation right now. So we provide, you know, fire board up services, abatement, fire line and safety services under this one. Record management services, all of the energy services, the IT services that I mentioned right here, ESMA, and a variety of different facility services. And again, all these are countywide. And you'll see the solicitation number, the open and date, and then the contact information right here. And I'll send this listing out to you guys. As I mentioned, I always like to kind of go over some tips and best practices. And I hopefully, you know, I think Stephen will echo me here, it kind of applies across the board, and he'll agree. As I mentioned, just make sure that you are thoroughly reviewing and responding to the solicitation. Again, we're very prescriptive. You know, we make sure that we capture all of the requirements. We tell you the format to submit, the order to submit, the due dates, and most importantly is how you are going to be evaluated. It is very, very important that you understand how you're going to be evaluated and how to prepare and submit your bidder proposal or SOQ. Always attend the bidders or proposers conferences. So when we do host them, make sure that you're attending. I always highly recommend it. And the reason for that is because it's an opportunity to meet the county staff, but hear more about the solicitation and the statement of work requirements. And frequently we'll also host job walks or site visits following the conference. Ask questions. We will always allow for an opportunity for you to ask any question whatsoever on the solicitation and its requirements to the county. There's always a due date for it, but we always open it up for Q&A. And then we'll always respond to those questions. So make sure that you are checking that addenda that's released and making sure that you're accounting in your proposal or your submission response on that Q&A addenda. And this one, number 4, I already talked about this one. You know, just make sure that you're reading the solicitation, reading the statement of work, reading the contract, knowing what you're signing up for in regards to the T's and C's, and making sure that you are providing a thorough and complete response to the solicitation. And I didn't put this one on here also, but this is also another good one, is debriefs. You know, we offer debriefs. They are at no cost. And if you're not successful, unfortunately, with being awarded a contract, it's an opportunity to learn about your deficiencies with the proposal and how you are scored. So that's another good one I need to add to this list. Okay, our county website and contact information, vendor relations. If you have any questions on your vendor account or how to access it or need a new password, this is the information here on the left for our vendor relations team that's housed here at ISD. We have doing business. That's the website up here on the top right that I mentioned to access all of those prior slides. So doingbusiness.lacounty.gov. Here's another way to access our vendor registration website. Open solicitations right here. And then the one here that I didn't go over is DEO. So opportunity.lacounty.gov. has access to the CBE program and also the PPE program as well. So if you're not registered or certified with them under those classifications and you think you can, definitely want to recommend that you reach out to them. And I think that was it on my end.
Thank you so much, Christy. Really appreciate that really thorough and informative presentation, truly. I think we can make some time for Q&A from our grantees. Ariel, would you be able to assist with that?
Yeah, we did just get one question in the Q&A if this recording will be sent out, and it will be available on our website early next week. Other than that, we don't have any questions in the Q&A. If anyone would like to come off mute and ask their question, feel free to raise your hand and we can have questions answered that way as well. Okay, Amy, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
I went through this, and is this the appropriate place to ask about a master agreement that we had with the Department of Mental Health?
No, you would have to contact them directly. Yeah, because because we are decentralized when it comes to contracting, you would need to contact them directly. But their contact information is going to be on that website. So it's going to be right here at the top right-hand side. You can go to contacts, and then you can look for contract managers and then mental health.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. And I want to say Amy. It's Lynn Robinette off the top of my head.
Okay.
Thank you both. Terry, I am going to ask you to unmute.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I was just taking a look at your list of continuous services you're looking for. You highlighted the shuttle services. You only had 2 vendors. So, we are not a transportation business. We do a lot of social services. But if we were looking for other avenues, not having a lot of history in transportation, would it be a good idea for those who are like first timers to apply or to be vendors for transportation?
Yes, I believe off the top of my head, I want to say we have new firm eligibility provision in there for that, but I would have to confirm off the top of my head. But I want to, and I can get back to you if you want to shoot me an email or reach out to the point of contact on here, Carlos Rubio, and he can advise on that. I want to say the years of experience is like 2 years within the past 3, and you have to have a commercial driver's license for whatever the vehicle type is. But yeah, it's crazy. You would think that we would have more, and there's a lot of work that goes through that. For example, with DCFS cases, we pick up, children and families and take them to court when they don't have transportation. So it provides a lot of really, really important, and critical services too, right? If you miss a court date, obviously it's not a good thing. And then we have the fun stuff too, like Dodger games.
Didn't expect a Dodger game, but yeah, for DCFS transportation, I'm a social worker, and that's a huge barrier for so many people. So it sparked interest. I can bring it to the director and see what he has to say. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, the Dodger game was actually a mental DMH. That was a mental health event that we supported.
Thank you both. We have one more hand raised from Pico Youth and Family. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yes, hello, thank you. My name is Alex Aldana. I had a question regarding I corresponded with the vendor relations team a couple months ago. They asked me to submit a letter of intent to update our address and contact information. Is there anything else that's needed? What is needed inside the letter of intent exactly?
That doesn't sound too familiar to me. A letter of intent. Did you guys go through an acquisition or merger with your firm?
No, but our organization was established almost 25 years ago, and the account was created many years ago before I became the executive director. So I wanted to update our address and our contact
Yeah.
information.
Um, that is not a typical required form, to be honest with you. Pico Youth. I'm gonna reach out to my team and I will have them get back to you on that.
Thank you. And I think
Yes.
they listed a couple of things in the email, but I wasn't sure if
Mhm.
anything else was needed besides the forms that they asked for.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, let me reach out to them and I just recorded your firm's name and I'll have them circle back with you.
Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah, and you should be able
Thank
to
you.
go into just the VSS website and just update that on your own, to be honest with you. So something must have changed right here. If you
Yes,
do this, yeah, if you scan
they
this QR
said
code.
they said I couldn't do it online.
Mm, hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe it has to do something with like, a merger or acquisition, but that doesn't sound like the case. So, okay. Let me find out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Christy. Those were all of the questions, the hand raise we had. Oh, we just got one in the Q&A. It says, Liz from Living Advantage, are there any specific cost categories we should be careful with, such as staffing, participant supports, subcontracting, travel, incentives, or administrative expenses?
That is a great question. It depends on the contract, right? So if your contract is grant funded, there will be very strict grant requirements in there in regards to wages, travel, G&A, so on and so forth. It's always the best practice for the contract managers to include the grant requirements in the solicitation and the contract, so that we can flow those down to you. So that's on a case by case basis. In regards to hourly rates, we do have and operate by the county's living wage rates schedule, and that's per ordinance. Specifically only though for Proposition A services. So that's anything like custodial, housekeeping, security, landscape, fleet, mail, like those types of services, have to adhere to the county's living wage rate, which is $20.08 right now, and it increases in January. And then in regards to just general comment on the travel, when we solicit for services and we're asking for an hourly rate, or we're asking for, we have a pricing sheet that's based on deliverables basis, we will always request fully burdened hourly rates, or for the deliverable costs to include all applicable costs, including travel. So make sure that you're looking at the pricing sheet. There will be a pricing sheet, or should be a pricing sheet in the solicitation that will outline how we are requesting you to submit your pricing and what's allowable, what is allowable, because it will vary from solicitation to solicitation. But look for those kind of caveats. Look for an attachment to the pricing sheet that'll have the grant requirements and the allowable reimbursements. And then, look for reference to the living wage compliance, hourly rates, and then notes on fully burdened costs. Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you. Those are all the questions we have if we want to move on to the next presentation. Thank you, Christy.
Okay.
Thank you, Cassie.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and take it away. I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you, Christy. So I guess everyone, I'll start sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. Make sure. I think we're doing it now. Don't use Zoom as
Yep.
much. Is the screen showing? Is the presentation showing
Yes.
everyone?
Yes. Yep. We see it. And beautiful deck, Stephen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I guess we could get started. I want to, hello and welcome everyone. I do want to thank you again, Chrissy Carr, for providing a one-on-one county contracting practices with everyone here. Everyone, my name is Stephen Williams. I'm one of the contracts managers here over in the Justice Care and Opportunities Department, over in our Contracts Development and Administration Division team. I will be presenting our JCOD County Contracting today, along with my colleague Anita Johnson. And before I begin with the PowerPoint presentation, I want to kind of give everyone a background on how the Department of JCOD was created. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm just getting notifications. Give me 1 second. Okay. So JCOD, we basically it continued the services that were previously administered by the County of Los Angeles Alternatives and Incarceration ATI office and the jail closure implementation team, which we call JCIT, within the CEO's office and the reentry division within the Department of Health Services Office of Diversion and Reentry. And to ensure work continued interrupted as agreements were transitioned, we transitioned the work from DHS to JCOD under a previous authority with DHS. And now JCOD now has created their own master agreement, JCOD Authority, just about a year ago, which we call the Justice Support Services Master Agreement. And you'll hear me refer to that as JISMAS moving forward, which I'll speak on momentarily. So the agenda today, what we'll be talking about is the contracting with Justice Care and Opportunities Department. Chrissy Carr touched on us earlier about registering with the WebVin. And then again, in our agenda, we'll be discussing the JISMAs. We'll be discussing work order solicitation. We'll be discussing submitting proposals for solicitations, common mistakes and tips, and county website and contact information. So I know Chrissy Carr may have mentioned this earlier. This is the vendor registration WebVin portal page. We have the link here to access the online website. Chrissy did show that earlier. I don't think the phone number is listed anymore, but this was the older contact we had, which I believe still works. I think that ISD had it removed, but that is a contact. So you might get lucky and be able to get into contact with them. You can use this WebVin for like new registration, verifying your registration. Give me 1 second. Okay, I was just trying to fix this sheet. You could use this website, this WebVin for the WebVin is used for new registration, verifying your registration, or if you have an existing registration. This is how you can check for these. This is how you can check like if the organization is active, if they're registered through County WebVin. This is how you can receive solicitation through ISD website here. And if your organization is awarded, they must be registered in advance because these are um, benefits such as knowing like when a solicitation is released, that applies to the services you provide and ensuring that you receive notifications and payments from the county. So this applies to both master agreement holders and contractors looking to bid on future solicitations. And then keep in mind, and I'm going to get into this in a little bit, that an execution of a master agreement does not guarantee a contractor work. In order to be able to submit the work order solicitation released by JCOD, you have to be you have to be a GISMA holder, right? Which has a variety of services such as outreach and services engagement. It has care management services, housing services, and workforce and education services, just to name a few. There are more listed on the slide 5 that I'll be showing. I was trying to find a way, sorry, if it's okay, if the screen I'm sharing, is it okay? I was trying to put it in present mode, but everyone's able to follow, right? Just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
we can see the
This
slides.
follow, okay,
Yes.
that's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to like change it, but no worries. Slide 4 here. What is a master agreement? A master agreement is made and entered into between the county and a contractor to pre-qualify them to submit proposals for competitive work order solicitations for specific services. The Justice Support Services Master Agreement that I refer to as JISMAS can be obtained through the request for statement qualification known as the RFSQ solicitation process. The JISMA allows pre-qualified contractors to submit proposals for both JCOD and the Department of DYD work order solicitations once released. DYD did get a chance to use our authority as well. So if you see a solicitation released from DYD or JCOD pertaining to these services, you can apply as a for the work order solicitation for both departments. So that's the beauty of both departments and being able to be a GSMA holder. But you have to be a GSMA holder to participate in both departments' work order solicitation. As I mentioned earlier, here's the categories that are listed within the GSMA. We have outreach services and engagement, care management services, housing services, workforce and education services, legal services, supportive services, transportation services, capacity building services, engagement and communication services, consulting services. And then on the other side here, we have research and evaluation services, interpretation and translation services, IT services, temporary personnel services, flexible subsidy pool services, and youth development services. And within that youth development services, it can be a community-based youth development, youth diversion services, continuum of care for justice, involved youth, and alternatives to detention. And so these are all the categories that if you feel like your organization or they do provide these services, I'd highly recommend go ahead and submit for the GSMA right away. Okay, so how to obtain a GSMA? To apply for a GSMA, interested parties need to visit the LA County solicitation website. And again, I know Christy, there's some things that may be a little repetitive that Christy Carr shared earlier, but this is the website that you will access for the Open RFSQ. And again, Open RFSQ is a way to apply for our master agreement that we call the GSMAs. Once you click onto that website, this link is active and it works. You'll click on Open Solicitation and then you search under the solicitation number. And this is our solicitation number here. Just in case those that don't have a computer screen in front of them, that number is JC-110424-J1, and the J and C are both capitalized. To assure a fair, competitive, and objective process, please direct all solicitation-related questions to the JCOD solicitation team. That email address is solicitations@jcod.lacounty.gov. If it is discovered that a vendor contacted and received information from any county personnel other than the person specified above, which is the solicitation email that we're referring to, regarding the solicitation, county in the sole determination may disqualify their statement of qualification, SOQ, from further consideration. So please keep in mind that you're not contacting county staff to ask about any solicitation documents pertaining to the GSMAs. You need to contact this website that we're showing you here. So here is how you can search for solicitations. As I mentioned earlier, you have the option to search for a solicitation by going to the open solicitation. You can search by department name or commodity name. And then once you identify your search, you will click on search to continue. So here's basically the step one on accessing the website. And then step two, we talked about open solicitation. Once you go this process, it'll take you to the next step, which is where you would then, step three, enter the solicitation number that I described. Once you enter that solicitation number, then you will see our RFSQ will come up for the GSMA right here. And this is how you will qualify. And as you see, the commodity code here is case management services. And so that's how you want to register when you register as a county web VIN under case management services. But either way, if you apply for the solicitation also and become a GSMA holder, you will be notified of any future work order solicitations. I think Chrissy spoke on this earlier. You can search other departments' open solicitation, whether they have a work order solicitation, an RFP, an open RFSQ. So just keep that in mind that this is the way to search. Our RFSQ process is continually is open to apply for the GSMA. There's no expiration date yet. It's just open continuously right now. So I just want to let everyone know that. Work order solicitations. Only organizations with an active GSMA in good standing may submit proposals for a JSMA work order solicitation, which we call WOS. The work order solicitation is a streamlined and competitive solicitation process that results in a work order. What is a work order? A work order is a contract document that allocates funding to an organization to provide services and or goods. Work orders are awarded through a competitive work order solicitation process. How to obtain a JCOD and or DYD work order? When a JSMA work order solicitation is released, qualified organizations with an active JSMA in good standing will have the opportunity to submit proposals. The highest ranked proposers will be selected to enter contract negotiations, and if negotiations are successful, proposers will be awarded a work order for services and or goods outlined within the applicable justice support services categories that I provided earlier. So kind of a recap with this process. When JCOD determines a need for specific services, a work order solicitation is developed and released to organizations that were pre-qualified under the Master Agreement JSMA, which is solicited under competitive conditions to receive a work order. Work order solicitation is more, as I mentioned earlier, streamlined, quicker process, which results in smaller standardized contracts for programs for multiple organizations. And the work orders are a supplement to your master agreement, which it's issued under, which includes different things that the county requires, such as statement of work, which shall describe in detail the particular project and work that are being provided under the services described. In work orders, there are funding tied, such as financial exhibits that are in that work order, which specifies the funding and the payment structure for the work order. And so other exhibits and attachments are also included in the work order for the selected services. And so, a master agreement, again, is just an agreement saying that this organization qualified to provide services, but it's no financial obligation to it, right? It is a piece of paper saying that your organization qualifies. To get the work order, you have to participate in that work order solicitation. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the highest ranked proposal will be selected to enter the contract negotiations. And if passed, then that's when that work order will be issued, and that's when you'll, have financial ties into that work order. Alrighty, so submitting proposals for solicitations. There are two phases of the review and selection process. That first phase, everyone, is called the minimum mandatory qualifications. It's basically a pass and fail criteria. Proposers must meet all minimum mandatory qualifications. Proposers must submit all requested supporting documents to properly substantiate all requirements. Proposers must submit their proposals along with all supporting documents on or before the deadline outlined within the work order solicitation documents. And proposals that meet all MMQs will proceed to the evaluation process, which is step 2 or phase 2, which will be conducted by independent evaluation review committee. So this first phase is really important, everyone. You want to pass the MMQ. This is how it's identified if the organization even qualifies to provide the services. And so, like, for example, years of experience performing the specific services, right? Demonstrating experience, providing samples are like all examples of things that the MMQ may ask. So you want to just make sure you're reading your solicitation questions to make sure that you do, that you will pass that MMQ process. Here's an example of what the MMQ looks like. These are like an example from our Reentry Intensive Case Management Services, RCMS proposal. It basically talks about, number one, it says instructions, provide your organization's complete responses in the text entry fields below, failure to provide and complete and detailed responses and or to provide documentation that clearly substantiates the requirements below may result in the lowest possible points being awarded and or disqualified. So you want to make sure you're filling out all the information that is asking, right? All the information listed in proposer contacts, such as organization name, headquarters address, if you have a website, you even have the principal point of contact that we like you to fill out. and that it would be needed. And then here, these are like examples of minimum mandatory qualification. Let's just read one because this is kind of a common one that could come up, right? Again, we won't go through the whole entire proposal, but these are just samples of what we had done previously at JCOD for RICMS. And this is an example of an MMQ. So it says you must have at least 3 years of experience within the last 5 years providing reentry services such as case management, system navigation, care coordination, and service linkage to systems involved individuals. Must be able to identify resources in-house or in the community to respond to the holistic needs of program participants in mental health, substance use, employment, education, legal, housing, food security, and other health and social services. So you have to basically explain and describe and provide that that you have 3 years of experience with the last 5 years. So say this proposal, you're submitting it May 20th, 2026. Well, if you look at the last 5 years, you have to go back to May 20th of 2021. And within those 5 years, you have to, especially so that you have those 3 years of experience. If you're only showing that you have 2 years, or even if you're short 1 month, 35 months, the proposal will not pass and it will be failed. So I want everyone just to keep that in mind. Let's see. The next one. This is the phase two that I was describing earlier. Phase two is basically once you pass that phase one MMQ process, your proposal will be able to go to the phase two, which is called the evaluation process. An evaluation review committee will evaluate the proposals independently and will use the evaluation process described in the work order solicitation documents to score proposals using an informed averaging methodology. Each category will have a rating factor of exceeds, meets, weak, or not met, and will then be assigned a point value based on the rating selected. The scores of all evaluators will then be averaged by each weighted category and totaled to determine the overall proposal score. Proposals will then be ranked from the highest to lowest score, and the highest ranked proposal will be selected to enter into contract negotiations. So this evaluation criteria is formed by utilizing an evaluation review committee, which will, evaluate the proposals independently and will use the evaluation process described in the solicitation to score and rank each proposal, as I mentioned. So just, that's how phase two works. And then here's some examples of the sample evaluation criteria, right? We could kind of just go ahead and I'm not going to go over all of it, but I'm just showing you an example how it's weighted. If you see section 3.2 is weighted based off of 60% out of that 100%, right? And 3.2 has about 5 different sections in here. So it says, first question, provide a program implementation plan with detailed and specific tasks as indicated in Exhibit A, Statement of Work, RICMS. Points for this section will be distributed based on the percentages below. So within that 60%, each of these categories will be weighted and calculates up to 60%. Section A is 5%, B is 10%, C is 10%, and so forth. And so section A of 3.2 says provide a program implementation plan with detailed and specific tasks for providing services outlined in subsection 10.1, referrals and participant outreach. That's something you will see if you were to participate in the work order solicitation. You will see that information, and that way you can provide your details, tasks that are basically outlined within that subsection. Basically, our instructions is, hey, look, we have a narrative box here. We want everyone to pretty much click, and tap into that box, and that's where you would type. The box will expand. So as long as you click it and you're typing, it will expand. And so I just want to keep everyone in mind that that's how you will basically submit it. I think going back, it mentioned something earlier here, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it's going to be probably later. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what you want to do is when you're submitting their proposal, you want to just give that narrative. And then a lot of these proposals, they will ask you to provide a backup documentation. So if you do have 3 years of experience in the last 5 years, you're going to also have to furnish and show a contract that has been fully executed to prove that you do have that 3 years or the last 5 years. So a lot of times we will not only just ask you to write a narrative, we're going to also ask you to provide a copy of that contract to ensure that you do qualify. And then, we have other sections here. 3.3 talks about staffing and resources. And so it's the same situation. The independent evaluators will just read the proposal, and that's how they'll score accordingly. And then this slide is just showing more questions that we have on the proposal, just to kind of give you an idea. They even ask questions about data collection, methodology, and reporting, which is weighted 10%. So again, this is just to show you the second phase that we discussed, which is called the evaluation process. After you're completed with your proposal, you have the proposer's declaration and signature page, which the proposer acknowledges that if any false, misleading, incomplete information or responses, you will be it will be your proposal could get failed, and so you want to make sure that you do follow the declaration signature page and that you're filling it out. We've had in the past proposals submitted without having this filled out. So you want to make sure it's completely filled out, signed, and dated. If not, proposal will be disqualified, okay? And the last part I'll speak on before Anita will be the submitting proposals for solicitation. These are like the proposal submission instructions. You want to make sure that you follow all the solicitation timelines that shows here, right? For example, I know this says release of RFP. It will actually say release of WAS instead. You want to make sure you follow the release of the WAS. If it's released, for example, March 22nd, 2023, you'll be aware that it's released. And then there's a questions and answer within that work order solicitation. So right here, it just basically states that any questions you have, it has to be sent through email, and all the questions and answer uh, information is detailed on your work order solicitation. And so it basically tells you any questions, make sure you email solicitations at jcod.lacounty.gov, and that you have a time frame on when you have to ask those questions. If you ask after this timeline, the questions will not be accepted. So you want to make sure you ask any questions you can. What's going to happen is the solicitation teams will compile all the questions in the format of an addendum, and then they will respond with the Q&A, and they will post it by the deadline that is notated on the timeline of your work order solicitation. So if the questions are due March 29th, then they will ensure that by April 5th, 3 p.m., the answers will be posted as an addendum, which everyone will get an email, a notification of the answers. And so you'll see everyone's questions. So even if organization A asks a question and organization B asks a different questions, the solicitation team will have all questions listed in order and then have them all answered so everyone can see it. That way we can maintain a fair, competitive, and objective process. And then the, the final part, proposals due. You want to make sure that the proposal is submitted to the email that's listed in the submission instructions below. You have to submit it by the deadline. If it's submitted 1 minute later, it's not going to pass, and it will fail due to that submission. Okay, it will fail as a non-responsive. So just keep that in mind. And I'll just read this disclaimers here. It just says proposals are prohibited from from contacting or communicating in any means with county employees, contractor staff, consultants, or elected officials of the county concerning this RFP. In this case, this would be the WAS, by the way, except for questions directed to the JCOD solicitation team via email at solicitations@jcod.lacounty.gov. Failure to comply with this work order solicitation could result in disqualification from the solicitation process. And again, we reiterated again here that the deadline for questions by email will be March 29th, 2023 at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I should have mentioned that earlier. It is Pacific Standard Time, as you see we have indicated here. The proposals must be emailed in a zip file, PDF, or other appropriate attachments, and timestamp on or before 12 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, on the date that it stated. All email submissions shall be submitted to the email address listed below and include appropriate directions to access the documents if necessary. So I kind of wanted to touch on this because I was mentioning it earlier. It says proposals must email in zip files, PDF, or other appropriate attachments. A lot of times when you're filling this out, this will be in Word document. And so, if you're typing it up, and I've seen this happen, right? If you type it up and then PDF it, there's times someone can PDF it and this box is short. So make sure it's all the way expanded before you PDF it if you choose to PDF. PDF does lock the document, right? So nobody edits it. So I just want to make sure you are aware that as you type this box will expand automatically, but just make sure before you PDF it that it captures everything. JCOD solicitation teams, again, with email is here. Last thing I will mention is false, misleading, incomplete, or deceptively unresponsive statements in connection with any proposal shall be sufficient cause for rejection of the proposal. The review and determination in this area shall be at the sole judgment of the interim, well, it's the director now of JCOD. She was the interim, but now she's the director of JCOD, whose decision shall be final. A proposer or a contractor, including but not limited to its contractor staff, its subsidiary or subcontractor, is prohibited from submitting a bid or proposal in a county solicitation if the proposer or contractor has provided advice or consultation for the solicitation. And then everything else was cut off, but you'll have the rest of that information on there. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about just with that process. Anita, are you ready to speak on the common mistakes and tips?
Yeah, go ahead and leave your screen up for me and I'll just read from there. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to wrap this up for us. So some of the common mistakes that we see is altering solicitation documents. That happens. So we want to make sure that you don't, like Stephen mentioned, sometimes things get messed up when you're going from Word to PDF and you're copying and pasting things. We want to make sure that those solicitation documents are not altered. That's a common mistake. Another common mistake is not meeting or properly substantiating MMQs and evaluation criteria, not meeting solicitation deadlines, such as the proposal due dates and or times. Also, submitting proposals or solicitation responses and they're missing documents, they're incomplete, or they're not signed. Just do a double check and make sure you take care of all of those. You watch those deadlines, make sure everything's signed, sealed, dated, delivered, all that good stuff. A few tips that we have for you. We want you to make sure that your organization is registered in the county WebVin. We want you to make sure that you're following all proposal instructions, timelines, and schedules. Your responses should clearly and thoroughly describe, detail, and address evaluation criteria and include requested supporting documentation whenever required. For instance, Stephen mentioned we do ask you to provide a narrative, but sometimes we will also ask that you include proof of that narrative. So you want to make sure that you submit whatever contract documents that are asked for along with that narrative. And then also proposers are prohibited from contacting or communicating with county staff regarding the solicitation. We know a lot of times organizations, they want to talk to their program managers about the solicitations. So that is strictly prohibited. If you have any questions, you should always direct them back to the solicitations at jcod.lacounty.gov. I believe that's the email. Next. Steven, can you hit the next? Oh, you got it. Oh, sorry, it's my page. All right, and so this slide is just the county website and contact information. We're going to leave it up here just for a little while if you want to jot down some of these. There's some email addresses for ISD vendor relations if you have questions. There's an email address, there's a phone number there, and then there's also these various websites for looking for open solicitations, doing business with LA County. If you need to get in touch with the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, and also the vendor registration website is listed there. And lastly, we have a little bit of time for questions and comments.
Thank you, Anita and Stephen. We have a few questions that came through in the Q&A, so we'll start with those, and then if anyone wants to ask questions live, we are almost at time. If you're able to stay, that would be great. But we understand if you have to drop off. The first question is, are all Amity Master Agreement CFCI grantees also JCOD contractors?
Repeat that one more time.
So the question is, are all Amity Master Agreement CFCI grantees also JCOD contractors? And I think they're referring to if they're CFCI grantee with us. We don't necessarily use the master agreement language, but if they have a contract with us, are they also JCOD contractors? And the answer is no.
No. I
Right.
mean, yeah, no.
Thank you. No, one more question. I applied for a work order, but never received a reply on if I was awarded the work order or how I scored. I do have a master agreement with JCOD. The work order was for case management.
So you have a work order. I'm sorry, you have a master agreement with JCOD. You apply for the work order.
And in that case, you want to go ahead and email the solicitations box and somebody will get back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then those are all the questions in the Q&A. Did anyone want to ask a question live? We have about a minute left. You want to go ahead and raise your hand? We have one. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, I just had hi, I'm Eartha Robinson from the Heart. I had a question. In the order, is it the steps that I take is to uh, um, be qualified for the MMQ first and then go to the master agreement to do GISMA, or what is the order of how that should be approached?
Yeah, the order should be if you're interested in becoming
Master
a
agreement
GISMA,
holder.
yeah, master agreement holder with JCOD, because the one Chrissy spoke on is a little different from us. For JCOD, and this is all specifically for JCOD only, right? Or if you want to participate in the DYD GISMA as well, you
Yes.
want to apply for the RFSQ that I mentioned earlier for the GISMA first. You want to be a GISMA holder. That way you can have the master agreement. You're qualified, so you can now participate in any work order solicitations that we have in the future. So the order should be you want to apply for the GISMA first.
Okay.
And on that instructions, I mentioned everyone how to apply. Not sure if you recall, but
Yes.
I mentioned how
Yes.
to apply for the GISMA, and so that's the first step you want to do.
Okay, and then would I be prompted to go to the master agreement or just
So
do
once
that
you
step
apply,
first?
once you apply for the master agreement, and let's say you submit all the information that the master agreement asks for, and you do qualify, you will be awarded a master agreement saying that your organization qualifies to provide the services that are outlined within the categories listed in the master agreement, and then you'll be good. I think the master agreement is probably good for another 10 years or something. I'm not exactly sure how long it is right now, but
Okay,
you will have the master agreement. Again, it's no financial obligation. It's just saying that your organization qualifies. You have this long agreement saying you qualify. You then, once a work order solicitation is released, you will be able to submit and apply for that work order solicitation that JCOD opens up or DYD.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And so but it seems to me that I'm holding the GISMA and the master agreement.
Well, the GISMA is the
Just
master
as a
agreement.
master agreement.
Ah, God, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So again, like I guess the way to kind of say it is a master agreement it's just a regular term, right? But what we refer to our master agreement is called the GISMA. So it's the same thing. It's just different departments have their different names for master agreement. JCOD calls their master agreement GISMAs.
Got it.
And then
Now
the
I
work order is
understand.
completely separate.
And DYD is
Yeah,
under, okay.
DYD is a different department, but they fall under they have the same authority as us. So anybody who has a GISMA can apply to anybody who has a JCOD GISMA can also apply for DYD GISMA, and you'll basically be able to participate in both departments' work order solicitations.
Okay. Thank you. Now I
Thank you.
understand.
Thank you both. And then last question, Amy, I'm going to ask you to unmute, but also read your question off from the Q&A. What are the types of work order Oh, I forgot what it stands for. What are the type of WOS contracts that are asked for?
Yeah,
Well,
my question is like, but in order to go through this whole process to get the GISMA, like what types of solicitations are you looking for? I have no idea. So how would I find out if that's even something we would want to do?
so it goes back to the slide 5 that I showed earlier. Any organizations that provide the services that are listed within the GISMAs, we recommend and advise to go ahead and apply to become a GISMA holder. That way, any work order solicitation that are open within those services, you can apply for. I'll read them again. Those are outreach services and engagement, care management services, housing services, workforce and education services, legal services, supportive services,
So
trans
that's the one I had a question about. What does supportive services mean? Like what are the different categories involved in that? Would like mental health counseling be something that would be you consider supportive services?
I mean, so I don't work in the program field itself, but it could probably vary. It's a lot of I don't know if you know, but JCOD focus on the formerly incarcerated population. We provide a lot of different services for these formerly incarcerated individuals. So a lot of it is reentry services that we have, case management services, capacity building services, and so supportive services could possibly fall under the mental health. But I think a lot of it is just, I would say, just look at the GISMA, and if it's something that you believe that your firm may qualify for, I would highly just recommend applying, and then you could probably even ask a solicitation email to maybe elaborate further on that supportive services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Stephen. So those were all the questions that we had. Thank you
Awesome.
all.
Yeah, thank you, Ariel, and thank you so much, Stephen, Anita, for presenting. Christy, I know she logged off, but that was an awesome presentation from all three of you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I know we went a little off time, but appreciate you all staying on for those questions and answers. So our next webinar is scheduled for August. So Amity will be sending more information once that's officially scheduled and on the calendar. So be on the lookout for that. As Ariel mentioned earlier, the slide deck and the recording will be emailed to you all sometime next week, so stay on the lookout for that as well. I'll also drop some important contact information. It was shared during the presentations, but just so you all have it readily available, there's the contact information in the chat. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.